Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. This is a podcast sponsored by Ruth Beck Art, the fabulous Ruth Beck Art. Make sure you check her out on Etsy. But also, this is a special post North London derby excited podcast in which we are going to relive the absolute glory that was yesterday. I have just seen a fabulous tweet from somebody that says this is our first back-to-back away league victories at the Toilet Bowl, the home of the scum, since 1988, which is crazy. It's me, Chris, from Suburban Gooners. Thank you very much for joining us as always. And it is the usual likely trio that are turning up. Top right-hand corner as I'm looking at it is Amanda. How you doing? You all right?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Can't wait to get into this discussion.
That was I almost felt a little bit muted. So, James Cook, can I get a little bit more excitement in your voice as I say, how are you?
Oh, that's a lot of pressure, Chris. But yes, I am very, very excited to be talking about this one. It feels like I haven't been on the pod in a little while. So what a game to be coming back with. And what a heart-racing, palpitation-inducing game it was yesterday. But I'm really looking forward to getting into it.
Yeah, me too. And there's lots to dissect because we had so much incident yesterday. But we will, thank you. Hello to everyone who's joining us in the chat. If you want to ask any questions, as always, if you're a regular, you'll know this already, but pop your comments in the chat and Amanda will star them. And then for the last 10 minutes, we'll get through as many as we can, except the obligatory who's going to win the league. I will not be answering that once again. Ask me that on May the 19th or May the 20th if we do a post-match pod after the game. And speaking of which, it's quite an interesting one because we've got a WhatsApp group between the 3-4 of us that run this. And we were talking on Friday and Saturday at what we were going to do. Do we want to go live on Sunday straight afterwards? And Amanda, I think the sentiment was it was unequivocal amongst us, wasn't it? And mine was, no way in hell do I want to go live after that. What about you? You were the same, weren't you? I think both of you were the same as me, right?
I was the same for different reasons, though, because City were playing Nottingham Forest. And I thought, how are we going to be able to concentrate on the podcast, give it our all, when we're all just going to be watching that game? And the second time this week I've watched City and the second time I've turned off after they've scored because there's just no point, is there? And then we was like, should we go live later? Should we do it today? I think it's best that we've done it today because although we're calmer, we can talk in a less mad tone, if you know what I mean. But no, I didn't.
Definitely.
I don't think any of us thought we were going to win. I don't think so. I thought we would draw. I think you thought we would lose, didn't you, Chris? Cooks, I can't remember.
I think I had when you asked us for the when you get asked us to do predictions. I think I went for a 1-1. I went for a 1-1. So I thought, to me, that's almost tantamount. James, I'll get your views actually on this, which is the pre-match vibes. Because personally, I hate this fixture. Every year that it comes out, it's the one that I just don't want to do. The one at home, you just kind of get wrapped up in you going to the game and all of that sort of stuff. But the one away from home, it's a horrible fixture. We don't have a good record there. The pre-match vibes from me was basically it's win or bust. So even though I was saying, I think we'll draw 1-1, in my head, that's almost like a loss because you're basically conceding the title, which is where we're at now, right? Is that you were the same?
Yeah, exactly the same. I think when we went away to City and we drew 0-0 and we looked at the remaining games, I think a lot of us were like, right, if we win every single one of them, we can probably have a little bit of room for error in probably the games against Tottenham away or United away. Not in both, but in one of those, that could be one where we could potentially drop points and still be okay. Obviously, the surprise came when we lost at home to Aston Villa, and that's where we've dropped those points. Because we've done that, you now have to win at Spurs, and you also have to win at Manchester United. We've done the hard bit. We've won at Spurs, which makes it, I know hindsight's obviously a wonderful thing, but had we beaten Villa, we'd be in such a good position. Obviously, let's not even think about that being any sort of a reality. But it was brilliant yesterday, and going into the game, I was confident because I felt like this team, had a point to prove. I felt like they would do it. I didn't think it would be easy, and I think the game totally reflected that. But we put ourselves in a really commanding position. And even though I think Spurs played well in patches, I mean, we'll go into how the game played out, but I thought we were deserving of the win yesterday, and we've left ourselves in a very, very good position, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Amanda, let's take this opportunity to talk about your appearance on 5 Live this morning. Don't go into all of the detail because obviously you want people to go and check it out. But we had a slightly deluded Tottenham fan. Apparently, you were saying just before we went live, a slightly deluded Tottenham fan that seemed to think, and as Cookie just said, we deserved that victory. I think we did deserve that victory. We were clinical. And do you want to just give a quick 1 minute synopsis of what this mental Tottenham fan had said?
I do think they live on a different planet. I mean, I was talking to a Liverpool fan yesterday, and she said, "You're one of the most unbiased Arsenal fans I ever meet." I said, "I'm just an unbiased fan. I'll say it as it is. I'm really not like that." But when, when you hear these Spurs fans, so for anyone that doesn't know, I was on Radio 5 Live at 6:20 a.m. this morning with a Tottenham fan. The recording is on our channel on YouTube. You can watch it later. It's only like 7 minutes. 7 minutes of me and him going at each other, though, to be honest. You know, the synopsis is they believe that they didn't take their chances and we did. But my argument was they only had 2 real chances, and we gave them both. So that was fine. Let him have that bit. But when he said, so I spoke, and then the radio host went to him and said something, and he went, "Well, when Saka puts in that poor corner, that was it. My back went. It's like you're talking about my child when you talk about Bukayo Saka. My back will go up." I said, excuse me. I went, "Poor corner. We scored from that corner. It was a fantastic corner. What are you talking about?" Then he said, "Yeah, well, Højbjerg." I was like, no, no, no. What? And it just went on. I won't go into it too much because some of you have listened, some of you are going to listen, and some of you won't listen. But honestly, it is hilarious. They live on a different planet. They can never say, "Well done, you deserved it." I've been to Spurs many a time in the 80s and the 90s when they beat us and they fully deserve to. To turn around and say that. And also, I want to get into as well how we all thought we played first half and stuff like that, because I've been arguing with Arsenal fans as well, because I don't really agree with what people are saying, but we'll get into that. So if you want to listen, it's on the Same Old Arsenal YouTube channel.
Lovely. James, we lined up with an unchanged side from the 5-0 drubbing of Chelsea. So we had Ryan goal. It was White, Saliba, Gabriel, Tomiyasu at left back. That midfield, which I do want to have a segment on talking about that midfield of Partey, Rice and Odegaard. Trossard on the left, Havertz up top, and Saka wide right. Happy with that, were you, just as we were gearing up, an hour before kickoff?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot you can really justify changing after a win like that against Chelsea. I thought it was the perfect team lineup. The only one that maybe I would have changed, and again, hindsight is a really nice thing to have, but Martinelli coming in for Trossard would have been that one that I think could have been really lethal, particularly in that first half, because just look at how much space Saka had when he scored his goal. I think there would have been so many opportunities for Martinelli to have run into space in that first half. So I would have liked him to start, but I thought Trossard had some goodish moments, but I thought he lost the ball a hell of a lot. I still can't really work out if he's a guy I want starting or being the impact sub off the games, because even when Martinelli's coming on, I'm not sure if he's impacting the game in the way I'd want him to. But I'm going off on a massive tangent there. But in answer to the question, Chris, no, I was really happy with the lineup. I thought the midfield was great. Defence, really, really good, as per usual. But I'm sure we'll go on to talk about the start of the game. But I just thought it was a little bit sloppy.
We were, weren't we? And there were a couple of instances. So we scored our first goal on 15 minutes, Amanda, and we'll get to that. But in the lead up to that, I thought there was a few slight sort of misplaced passes. I think Trossard a couple of times went deep and lost the ball. I think Odegaard might have done as well. I don't know if that was post goal. And I know Partey, certainly in that first half, there was one bit
definitely did.
There was a turnover, it was an odd one, because I think the way that Arteta tactically had set up the game was the right thing to do, because you knew Tottenham were going to try and come out of the blocks flying at us. And we did create a bit of a red wall at times, even in those early stages. But we set up this game as a transitional game, and I thought it was expertly and masterfully done, because we said to Tottenham, "You're going to have possession, that's fine. We're going to hit you where it hurts." And we lead up to that goal. and we get a corner, and that you know what, if Saka's going to put poor corners in like that all for the rest of the season, I'll take it. I'll take that every day of the week, because it was a good ball in, and it was a lovely finish by Højbjerg, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to something that you said about Partey. About, I don't know, 3-4 minutes before, I said to Cole, because he missed the, the bit beforehand when Paul Merson was schooling Dawson. That was brilliant. With was it Roy Keane? I think Roy Keane was in there. When they were talking about Partey, and I said that he does take one touch too much. And at West Ham, when Rice took the ball off him and everything, happened yesterday. And I said to Carl, that's what they were talking about in the studio, about the fact that he just takes one pass too much. And I said, no, I remember being at West Ham away and watching him coming towards us and Rice taking the ball. Sometimes he's not fast enough. And it happened, as I said it, it actually happened to Partey. But Partey's passing is phenomenal. So I wasn't unhappy with the team, but I'm a little bit like Cooks with Trossard. I'm not sure whether he should start or come on as a sub, to be honest. And the fact that, I don't get this Tottenham fan, moaning about Saka's corner. We scored from it. If he wasn't going to get it, Højbjerg, we would have got it. So I think it would have been headed in by one of our players. We do need to talk about the Ben White shithousery, which is the best thing on the planet. But whipped in corner, I just want to go on to a few bits as well about the first half, because I thought we played really well. I really did. I did not see what a lot of people saw, where hundreds of missed passes, Tottenham all over us. We were lucky. I haven't seen that. I think sometimes I watch a different game to a lot of people. But anyway, yeah, lovely. I mean, listen, we set up well. The difference is this year, the mentality of them. Did you both notice that when we scored, they didn't celebrate? They just went into a huddle. That's the first time I've ever seen that.
I think Saka enjoyed it a little bit.
Yeah, no, he did the ear bit, and that was great. And then Erdegaard, but then they went into a huddle, and it was the best thing, because it just shows their elite mentality. Is the fact that, right, what's next? What can we do better? Let's not celebrate in front of the Tottenham fans. They're nowhere near the Arsenal fans. Just loved it. I mean, 1-0 up. Nice own goal. Corner, another set piece. Our set piece coach goes mad with Arteta, and yeah, I was pretty happy.
Yeah, certainly. And James, we are quite a force to be reckoned with. I did think it was quite funny that Gary Neville, I think it was in when we scored the third goal, he had a little pop at Nicholas Jova, but it's so valuable and it's such an important thing. We talk about our defence this year, but both defensively and offensively this season, we've been brilliant on set pieces, and particularly those corners. And that's the difference, isn't it? That's the difference between going to the end of the season and maybe petering out 3-4 games ago, because when we've not been scoring, our structure and the strength that we've had on set pieces has enabled us to get through matches, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was an obvious ploy that we had, because if you look at one weakness in Vicario's game, you could argue that from set pieces and particularly corners, that's where he's a little bit suspect. He's shown that multiple times already this season. So you could quite clearly see, whether it was Saka, whether it was Rice, those corners were going right on top of Vicario. I mean, they were so close to the goal line. So I think it was really, really good. Really great from Nicholas Jova. And I mean, the set pieces in general, I mean, we're so good at attacking them and defending them. I think there was a slight wobble, I think, towards the back end of last season or the start of this season, where we weren't quite as good as we should have been from set pieces. But I just think it's one of those things that, every corner feels like an opportunity to score with Arsenal at the minute. And it's not just the deliveries, but it's the people that we've got, the presence in the box. Look at the guys we've got in there. We've got Havertz in there, Gabriel, Saliba, Ben White, Tomiyasu now, who could have scored from a header yesterday. So it's great to have
a brilliant team as well, isn't it?
A very big team. Yeah, I love the physical presence of this side.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when you've got what it says to me is it shows how well coached this team is, because there's never more of an embodiment of the success of a well-coached team than through structural pieces like set pieces and stuff like that. I think it shows when you've got a side that are well coached, they're going to be good at that sort of stuff. And we are seeing evidence of that. We are the beneficiaries of that. And 1-0 up within 15 minutes, but it was to get even better. I'll tell you, guys that are just kind of watching us now, we've got coming up to 300 of you that are live listening. So that's lovely. I've actually, before we went live, Amanda said, "What's wrong with you?" Because I was looking a bit grumpy. I'm in a bit of pain on my shoulder, and I think I've done damaged a nerve or something. Because when that second goal went in, I fist pumped the air in my living room so much that it put my shoulder out. So, Amanda, talk us through. Let's talk through the incidents of that second goal. So it's Tottenham. I think it was from a corner, and then Kulusevski comes inside. Just inside the box. Trossard sort of half waves a leg, but there was minimal contact. Kulusevski goes down.
I think we should talk about that, though. Do you think it was a penalty?
Yeah. No.
Oh, you do?
And I tell you,
no, you don't.
No. And the reason why is because you can't have that level of contact inside the box and be saying that's a penalty. Because if you do, then you're going to say that 95% of contact in the box, it was coming together. But to me, there's not enough in that for a penalty. I think even Dermot Gallagher, who 9 times out of 10 is a complete muppet on Sky Sports, I think he was even saying that, there's not really enough contact there. And for me,
Chris, like literally crying.
Well, for me, the problem is that if you're, like I said, if you're going to have contact like that, then we're going to have problems all the time. And my sort of rule of thumb that I apply is that if that happens at the other end, what do I say? And if that happened at the other end to an Arsenal player, I'd say, well, there's contact, but you just don't get those. So you move on. And then James Maddison's was an embarrassment. And then we'll come to the let's come to the goal. So Amanda, I'll start with you, and then get Cookie's thoughts. But thoughts on the 2 penalty calls. And then let's talk about the build-up for that goal, because Kai Havertz and Saka, masterful.
I didn't think it was a penalty. I was concerned they were going to give it because, generally against us that happens. I think that what's happened is he's caught Trossard, tried to stay on his feet and thought, and he's just gone down. I think he dives quite a bit anyway. But that's given Spurs fans the right to moan for about 24 hours so far. I mean, one of the tweets on Twitter, the invert winger is the best thing. You have to go and watch 12 tweets. I'm not watching football anymore. I'm only going to watch Champions League and Arsenal. Honestly, it's comedy. It's comedic, his tweets. And then I'm watching. I mean, we're all watching, aren't we? Because the 3 of us were at home watching TV. And I'm watching this football go down the other end. And it was the most sublime football. It was beautiful. Declan Rice goes over to the corner. You got Danny DeVito in the corner and his 2 mates giving it large. I absolutely love. Oh, sorry. What am I talking about? What's the second goal? Declan Rice, the corner.
We went back to front. We went back to front. So James Maddison goes down in the box, and then within about 3-4 touches, Saka played it out to Havertz.
Yes. Saka started the move to Havertz, didn't he? And then it ended up. And my argument on the radio this morning was, what the hell is Ben Davies allowing Saka to come on his left foot? He's going to score. You just know he's going to do it. And honestly, to score a beautiful Saka goal like that and are just beautiful. And again, they go in a huddle. I absolutely loved it. I thought the football was sublime. I thought tactically, he did everything right. Arteta just got them on the break. This stupid high line they play. They're not very good. Don't even know half their players. Years ago, I knew the whole Tottenham team. I don't even know half of them. And I mean, come on, our boy Saka, just 2-0 up at White Hart Lane, and we silenced the crowd. We absolutely silenced them. Because I think they thought they were going to get a battering, because that's what a couple of my Spurs friends had said this week. We're worried about getting annihilated.
Really, that's interesting. I didn't check in with the Tottenham fans beforehand, but James, when I was talking right at the beginning, the lineup that Arteta set out, and the way in which we approach the game, Arteta has done an absolute tactical masterstroke here, and I think that second goal evidences it. So I just want to get your thoughts on it, because that was the perfect transitional type of goal, wasn't it? You know, we're in defence. We are trying to just stop Tottenham. We're trying to hold them up, and then within 3 passes, you know, we've gone from probably within about 10 seconds, we've gone from our defence to attack, and the defence aren't set. Ben Davies is in 6s and 7s, and Saka can take advantage. So just want to get your thoughts on that goal. Maybe if you want to touch on the penalty, you can, or you can just focus on the goal, and maybe some flowers for Kai Havertz as well, because, you know, that ball was brilliant.
Yeah.
I wondered in the real time, if Saka had just he'd left it a little bit late, and Saka might have just strayed offside. So when it was confirmed it was onside, yeah, I went ballistic.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the Trossard's penalty, I mean, I think you two guys have covered it there, but definitely not a penalty. Never in a million years. I mean, if we're giving away penalties for guys kicking up their heels into the back of an on-rushing player, I mean, that's just absolute delusion. We cannot be giving penalties for that. So, yeah, glossing over that. But then that goal, I mean, it was just indicative of the way we were playing. We set up in a similar way to almost how we played against City. We just let them have the ball, and we took our opportunities when they came to us. And I think this was a game that we didn't need to dominate. We just could just say to Spurs, look, you know, we fancy ourselves defensively to stop you scoring. We're just going to catch you when we can. And we know there's going to be space there to do that. And obviously scoring that early goal allowed Spurs to come out. I mean, it forced them into coming out and enabled those spaces to open up. And I mean, I thought we'd messed it up a little bit when there was that little coming together between Trossard and Havertz. And I was like, please, one of you just make up your mind who's going to take this ball. Thankfully, it was Havertz. Brilliant ball over the top to Bukayo Saka. I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk about Kai Havertz later, but he was phenomenal yesterday. And if we're going back 6 months in time to one of his early games, I mean, he doesn't make that pass. I mean, he either, you know, passes it backwards or he just fluffs it. But that was a brilliant ball over to Bukayo Saka. And then, yeah, great from Saka, you know, actually showing his pace, which is something we don't actually see a lot from him because he likes to cut inside so much. But then Ben Davies, I mean, it's so poor from him just to show Saka inside. We all know he's going to do that.
Yeah.
And again, I thought Saka had messed it up a little bit because it kind of bobbled. I was like, oh, it just not quite got enough cut on it. But then the finish just, I mean, it's vintage Bukayo Saka. That is a Bukayo Saka finish. You just get flashbacks to Iron Robin when you're looking at him now. So brilliant goal to put us 2-0 up. I mean, we were in the ascendancy at that point, and it was crazy because we weren't even playing well. To be 2-0 up at their place and not playing well, it was fantastic.
I don't get that. I don't think we were playing that badly.
We weren't bad, but we weren't classic Arsenal.
Yeah, not from this season. We were not. It wasn't fluid. Defensive in the defensive third, as we said, Partey gave the ball away once or twice. Trossard gave the ball away once or twice.
So
Ødegaard. It just wasn't. It wasn't. Sorry, say that again.
So did Tottenham. They gave the ball away as well.
But we're a level above them, Amanda. We don't need to compare ourselves to them anymore because we are a level above them. We're going for titles. We're not going for top fours. We're going for titles, and the margins are so much tighter. So
yeah, no, I get
if
that.
You think about it as well, you've got Romero hit the post on 21 minutes. Son right on half time was put in, and we haven't seen that all season from Gabriel Saliba. Just a straight run from Son and a ball over the top. They've just been dealing with that like meat and drink, like no problems whatsoever. So there were just little bits, and perhaps you can point it down to being the fact that it's a North London derby. Emotions are running high. You know, it's at the end of the season. We're at the crunch point. This is a difficult game. We all talked about how nervous we were beforehand. And Cookie, I'll go with you and then I'll go back to Amanda. I'll stick with you and go back to Amanda because you talked about Havertz just then. Let's move on to that third goal then, because again, Havertz has got 6 assists. One of those assists was that fantastic ball for Saka, and I thought Saka's first touch was pretty good as well on that. And then he gets his 12th goal of the season through Declan Rice. And now we can talk, and I'll save the bantery bit for Amanda talking about the fans giving it on Declan Rice in a minute, but talk to me about how impressed you've been with Kai Havertz bagging himself another goal, and I thought his movement as well for that that corner was really impressive because he starts off at the back post, he comes around and then into the centre, and then there was a few salty Spurs fans moaning about, I think, a push on Van der Ven, but there was nothing there, was there?
It's crazy, isn't it, that we're talking about Kai Havertz being the guy that ran the North London derby, essentially. I mean, I know Gabriel got man of the match in the end, but for me, it was Kai Havertz. I thought he was world class yesterday, as he has been, since the turn of the year. He's on 18 goal contributions in the Premier League, which, if he ended the season now, that's great. Like that is fantastic. I really think he should aim for 20 though, and he's got ample opportunity to do it in these last 3 games. I mean, we could definitely score goals in these 3 teams we're coming up against, and he should be at the heart of those attacks. So I'm elated for him, because the player I saw when we signed him and the player I saw at Chelsea was kind of a timid, shy player that was on the periphery of games. Now I think he's at the center of them. I think he just looks so commanding, so confident in what he's doing. I think he's got so much belief in his own ability. He's transformed. And him as this number 9 now, I think someone put it in the chat box earlier, but it really does raise the question of, do we need to be looking at a centre forward in the summer? Because when he's putting up these numbers, why would you move him? You wouldn't go away from it. The way he brings other players into the game, the runs he makes beyond the defence. He is a centre forward. He's a number 9. He's not a full. I wouldn't call him a false 9. He's somewhere between being a false 9 and a traditional 9. He's just got so many quivers to his bow. I think he's such a fantastic player for us at the minute. And it doesn't feel like a flash in the pan, because it's been like this for a long time now. He's contributing to goals pretty much every game we play. So I'm buzzing for him. So happy for him to get not only a goal, but a brilliant assist, a brilliant goal as well at that. So. I'm on the Kai Havertz love train at the minute.
Yeah, I put a tweet out yesterday, which was Kai Havertz apology to tour, and it was a picture of the Tottenham Stadium. It's like latest venue. He's been fantastic. It's really interesting because at Leverkusen he played at left 8, and he was a star at left 8 for them. He's gone to Chelsea, and they've moved him forward up the pitch, and it didn't look like it worked quite right. And at the beginning of the season, I think I wrote a blog about it saying, why are we signing, like, he'll get my support. I might have even been on here and said it. He'll get my support, but why are we signing a guy who predominantly hasn't played left 8 for a couple of years, predominantly has been playing up top and doesn't score goals? It seems a bit weird. But hey, what I do think is interesting, Amanda, I'll bring you in on this so we can do a bit of bantering on the Spurs fans for the 3rd goal, and also giving Declan Rice some pelters as well. That was funny. But for me, at the beginning of the season, or when we were coming into this new year, we had Gabriel Jesus coming back from injury, and Zinchenko was supposed to be coming back, and Partey was supposed to be coming back. And a lot of people, I listened to a few other podcasts, and there was a few of them saying, Gabi Jesus, Gabi Martinelli, Zinchenko, these guys are going to have to come back, and they're going to have to step up and deliver for us in the second half of the season. But actually, it's been Trossard and Havertz that have been delivering for us. And I think it just speaks to the strength of our squad, that we've got players like Martinelli sitting on the bench who can't get on, and Gabriel Jesus just can't get on. It's so good to see. But let's rewind it back a little bit, Amanda, and talk to me about your thoughts on the 3rd goal, the bantering that Declan Rice got, the stick he gave back to those fans that were abusing him, and then Kai Havertz and his goal as well.
I don't get what makes football fans want to go down to a corner and abuse a player. I don't get it. And maybe because I'm old, I never did it when I was 18, 20, 25, when I was in the North Bank. I think because I always think it comes back to bite you, which hence it did. I know they're having a go at Declan Rice. They hate West Ham, and he's part of that mantra, wasn't he, years ago, for many years, and he obviously played a lot at White Hart Lane for West Ham. He's come to us. They hate us just as much. He goes to take a corner, and they're literally, Danny DeVito and his mates, having a go at him. And you never go too soon. Because if anyone's watched Declan Rice in the last 6 months, the corners are just getting better and better and better. You keep your mouth shut. And what I love about Declan is he gave a little bit back. He don't really care, does he? He just gets on with the game. Another beautiful corner by Declan. And Havertz, I mean, I think Cooks has said enough, but what I love about Kai Havertz, when you get confident, when someone is confident in you, you believe in yourself. When you go to a new job and a manager thinks you've got it, funny enough, I've got it in my job. My manager thinks that I've just got it, and it breeds confidence in me. This is what Arteta has done to Havertz. Gradually, game by game, he got better and better. Listen, I don't think anyone at the beginning of the season understood that signing. You know, I don't criticise. I didn't understand it. I'm not going to sit here and go, I knew this was going to happen. Never in my wildest dreams did I think that the Arsenal Gooner Nation would fall in love with Havertz the way they have. And he deserves it. He puts a shift in. He's a team player. He's got experience, which is key as well. And I think he's the difference from this year to last year. I know the injuries, but I think he's the difference. You know, he's now becoming one of the first names on the team sheet. We sort of look at it and go, oh, Havertz isn't playing. Well, 7 or 8 months ago, you wouldn't be doing that. You would not be doing that. And he has completely stepped up. But the team believes in him, the manager believes in him, and the fans believe in him. And he's got the best song at the club. Every time we just want him to score so we can all sing the song, to be honest. And again, you know, he probably hates Tottenham anyway because he played for Chelsea. Actually, everyone hates Tottenham. And I just think confidence is oozing out of him. He's putting passes together. He's scoring goals. As James says, look at the assists he's got. We could never have dreamt of this. I'm sorry. I actually saw one tweet yesterday from someone in August who said, he's not been brought here to play in midfield. He's been brought here to score goals. Watch what happens 6 months in. The guy got it spot on. Absolutely spot on. Because we all love Kai Havertz. And I prefer him up front. I don't like him in midfield. I love where he plays. I love how he's scoring goals for us. And I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed with Arteta as well. He sees things that we don't see. You know, why at the beginning people were saying, why did we sign Kai Havertz? What a waste of money. What a waste of 65 million quid. Well, hello, what's he worth now?
Yeah. Do you know what's I do think you mentioned it a couple of times, Amanda. There's something about the composition and the setup of this Arsenal team that suits Havertz more than when he was at Chelsea. You know, that's a team that, I mean, they're structurally all over the place. We saw that last week when we played them, and we've seen that all season. And last season, even they were a bit all over the place. I think the type of team that Arteta wants to build, where each cog in the wheel, in the engine, is just as valuable as each other. I do think that suits Havertz and the type of player he is. Like you said, a team player. Like he's not a superstar 30 goal a season striker who's just going to dominate. And, you know, he's not like an Aubameyang type approach where, you know, all of the eyes are on him. He is a player that suits really like slots into a system. He's a system player. And I think that really the way that Arteta has brought that out of him and the way that we play, I think that has made a big impact. So system player, not individual players. I want to, we do need to talk about the unpleasantness after half time, but so we'll move on to that, I think. And then I want to talk about like a few sort of more.
Can I just ask you both?
Like
sorry.
and stuff.
Sorry, Chris. Ben White on the goalkeeper. I haven't seen a foul. They've all kicked off about it. I saw him pinch his glove before the corner was even taken.
That's it. That's all.
Surely they surely remember Harry Kane doing all this, yeah? Was it okay when Harry Kane did a little bit of shithousery with goalkeepers?
Oh, well, I mean, that man was good for a penalty a season, not always against us, but a penalty or two a season just through diving. And Son's just as bad at it as well. But we'll move on. Let's talk about, so at half time, James, I went upstairs to see the wife with a big beaming smile. And I said to her, this has been absolutely amazing. We've not been great, but 3-0, this is superb. And I had a phone call from a mate of mine, Johnny, who does the Arsenal Opinion podcast. And he said to me, it's done now. This team doesn't concede 3 goals.
Oh my God.
It felt comfortable, James. So I don't know about you, James, but for the first 2/3 of that game, so 60, 61, 62 minutes. The first 15 minutes of that second half, I think we were winning the ball back higher up the pitch. We looked in control. They looked to be. I thought this was just going to peter out. Like I was just before that goal that we conceded through the mistake from Raya, and I'd like you just to get your thoughts on that particularly. It just felt like we were in control and we were going to see out this game like we have done so many times this season. But the North London derby does things to players, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. That the start of that second half, the first 10, 15 minutes of it, it was just going in the direction of being a 0-0 second half. I think it was a good performance from Arsenal, actually. I thought we were better in that period than we were for the majority of the first half. You know, we had a couple of openings ourselves. I think that was the period where Tomiyasu could have got a goal from a header as well. And I thought we looked good, and Spurs were offering nothing. Like, it was just really, really quietening down the game. Then obviously the Raya situation happens. And look, I'm not going to lay into him because this is his first mistake in God knows how long. He can't do that in a North London derby, though. That's the only thing. But it is a mistake.
Can't do it.
Goalkeepers are prone to making mistakes. Edison does it. Alisson does it. But I'd let him make that mistake in any other game, just not this one. Because, look, it gave Spurs something with quite a big portion of the game left to give them a bit of belief. And I agree with your mate, Chris. Like, I didn't see this Arsenal team, this version of Arsenal conceding 3 goals, but it is a North London derby. It's a derby. Anything can happen. Just look at what Everton did to Liverpool. I mean, this Everton side that completely turned over what we're talking about being a fantastic Liverpool team. It is a derby. Anything can happen. So I was, getting heart palpitations at that point. But I actually thought once we did concede, we didn't have a rush of blood to the head. I think if we'd conceded again within the next 5 minutes, that would have been bad, like really, really bad. But this is a more mature Arsenal team, and I actually thought we rose the pressure after that goal very, very well. And we'll go on to talk about the penalty in a minute, but in that period, I actually thought Raya was excellent, where he was just claiming every single ball. I thought he was like, right, I've made a mistake, let me redeem myself. And after that, everything he did, I thought was immaculate. The way he claimed the ball from every single cross, but then having that intelligence to not just throw it out, but just pause and fall to the floor, and then just slow the game down, let it peter out. So yeah, I mean, kudos to Raya because I thought he was fantastic after that point. But making that sort of mistake at that point in your biggest game is worrying. But thank God he didn't do it at 0-0.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a very, very different game if that was the case. One of the bits we did miss out in that period just before Tottenham got that goal through a mistake of our doing. So Tottenham weren't getting back into this game through their own class and quality. They got back into this game through a mistake of our doing. There was that bit, that Saka chance where the goalkeeper's made a save with his foot on the line. You know, that goes in and this game turns, it gets very, very sour. So that was slightly unlucky from Saka, but there was you're right. After we scored, and Amanda, let's take it up to the penalty then. After we scored, there was a Saka block shot, there was a Martinelli block shot, kind of a bit speculative really. There was a Christian Romero block shot on 84. And then we get to the unfortunateness. So live and in real time, Gary Neville was quite vociferous about it being a penalty. Did you feel the same?
Yeah, 100. I called it straight away. I said, that's a penalty. And Cole said, no, it's not. Don't be ridiculous. I said, that's a penalty. I didn't even need VAR. It wasn't intentional. I don't think Rice knew he was there. But that was a penalty. 100%. How the ref didn't see it, he's right there. So I get Spurs fans on that. 100% I get Spurs fans on that. I would have been going mental. And I don't understand how you could not think that was a penalty straight away. But
can I just interrupt and just for 2 seconds? My gut feel on that is I don't feel like that. I think probably the refs know they have that buffer of VAR, so they don't call as much anymore. And that is the correct application of VAR, right? There's an instant that the ref doesn't call that he then gets called back. He looked at it quickly. It's a penalty. Sorry, go on.
And I do believe that, but I just want to go back to something like being 3-0 up at half time is never safe. 4 is different. 1 back at 3-1, panic stations. That we brought the crowd back into it. They were, half of them were still having tea when we kicked off. So we brought them back into that. It gave them a bit of momentum. Then they went for it, and obviously they were in our penalty box. I would just like to talk about Raya a second. I don't know what he was doing. I will criticise that. I don't criticise him because from that moment on, he claimed everything. Absolutely, I, it's a really silly, stupid thing to do. It's not even a mistake that you can say, oh, these things happen. He's trying to chip the defender. What are you doing? I'm sorry. He needs to learn from that. And you don't do that in a North London derby. You don't do that at all. But he's amazing and I love him. But I can criticise the fact that he did that. He brought them back into the game single handedly. They were never in this game. Leading up to the penalty, yeah, it was a little bit more. But them, I wasn't really that fussed, but I was worried the minute they got one back. I was very, very concerned. That goal goes in. I'm like, oh my God, Cole, they're going to get another one. And then I won't be able to cope. If it goes 3-2, I won't be able to cope. I didn't foresee. Look, it's tough in the penalty area now. VAR's there on it, if there's no VAR, there's no penalty on that, and then they'll debate it for the rest of their life after. But it was 100% a penalty. I don't blame Rice. He didn't see him there. He was trying to kick the ball away. So it is what it is. He should have given a penalty. He should have done. I don't know how he didn't see it.
Mm. And so it's 3-2, and it's on 87 minutes, James, and we've got 3 minutes plus injury time. Was that the longest injury time and 3 minutes that you've ever experienced in your life?
Yeah, it was horrible. When they had that period, it just felt like corner after corner after corner. It just felt inevitable that they were going to score. And I dread to think what that place would have been like if they'd have made it free. Not because it might have given them a bit of hope that they could get Champions League football, but moreover because they'd probably have stopped our title challenge dead in its tracks. So I'm really pleased that the team managed to ride it out, and it was difficult. But I think both the goals we conceded are unfortunate. I don't think we deserve to be 3-0 up in the first half. I don't think we were good enough to justify that scoreline, but we took our chances when they came to us. But in that second half, I thought we controlled the game a lot better, but two sloppy moments, two very unfortunate moments have led to Spurs getting 2 goals. Apart from that, they didn't really do a great deal. They had those 2 Romero efforts, and then they just put a lot of pressure on in the end, but I can't really think of any chances that they had clear cut on the goal.
If you look at that, without VAR, Van de Ven's goal would have stood. We haven't spoken about that. That was offside.
Yeah.
It was offside, and I don't know what they're kicking off about.
But that's, I guess, goes to what you were just saying, James. Like, the goal that they scored for the first one was just a bit of a freak and stupidity. The second one, it's unlucky from Declan Rice because he's clearing the ball and the guy just nips in ahead of them. But even that Van de Ven goal that they scored that was then disallowed, it hits 2 Arsenal players on the way in. So it literally is the most reboundy, fluky goal that they could have scored. So, there was almost a bit of justice from that being offside. But I think you're right. Like, it was a very odd game, wasn't it, James, in that respect? Because it was like you said, didn't deserve to be 3-0 up, but glad we were. Didn't really deserve to concede those 2 goals, but glad it was only 2.
Well, I mean, I feel like we deserved the win, but I don't really. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this bloke on Twitter, Invert the Wing. I think he's
That's
called.
That's what I said. That's the tweets I'm talking about. The guy's done 12 tweets. He's hilarious.
Claims to be a Stockport County fan, doesn't he?
Yeah,
but when he was putting out, that they dominated us in all areas. No, that did not happen. I mean, I think there were times when we just let them have the ball, like I say, and that obviously escalates the numbers for them to make it look like they've done better. We let them have possession. We let them, pass the ball around because we knew that we could counter them. And like you said, Chris, it's a brilliant tactical bit of genius from Mikel Arteta. I mean, Van de Ven's goal was offside. That's why we've got the technology. Exactly the same as Garnacho's goal was offside at the Emirates. It's been deemed offside. And to be honest, I don't really care about, justifying this because we've had so many instances over the past couple of seasons where things have gone against us. Not like this, but we're talking about, I still go back to those 2 yellow cards in quick succession that Martinelli got at Wolves. Like nonsense like that. Tomiyasu's red cards earlier on in the season. If it goes in our favour, sorry, that's the way the cards are dealt, my friend. Like that's just how it rolls. So, couldn't care less about that type of thing. And it's a derby at the end of the day. Like I was saying earlier, anything can happen in these games. It can get crazy. And for us to have just gotten out of there with 3 points, I wouldn't have cared if the score was 5-4, 1-0. I don't really care. I would have loved 3-0 for the goal difference, but the 3 points is what's important to me.
Yep, 100%. And also just on that point, James, we got shafted at Newcastle, didn't we? And then I can't remember what game it was, but there was a game this weekend where a goal was disallowed because of a push that was almost identical inside the box. It was between 2 other Premier League teams. So all of a sudden you've got this instance where they're saying, oh yeah, correct application, that's a foul, but it wasn't a foul at Newcastle. Nonsense. And just to touch on your points, we've got 15 minutes ish, and we'll do some questions for the last sort of 5-10 minutes. Got a couple of bits that we want to get through, like the remaining fixtures, and talk about some thoughts around how the rest of the season's going to pan out. But stats wise, you were right. Like, this was a perfect tactical transition game. Arteta said you can have the ball. They had 62% to our 38. A lot of that's game state as well. You're 3-0 up at half time, and you're going to give them the ball because you're not going to go, gung ho searching for 4s and 5s and 6s. You need to be compact. We had the 78% passing accuracy. We had a total of 371 passes. Tottenham had 609. We made 27 clearances. They made 12. It's always going to happen because it's game state, but the numbers feel inflated because that felt like an Arsenal team that were in control, that just made their own mistakes. I want to touch on this midfield, Amanda, of Partey, Rice and Ødegaard. Partey coming in for his 2nd consecutive game. And do you feel like what could have been had Partey would have been fit the whole season? Could we have been romping away in this league? Because it looks to me like it's starting to click, and it's just such a shame that we've only got 3 games left. Give me some thoughts on the midfield, the trio that we're getting, the value that they're adding. You've got Rice, who's defensively assured. You've got Partey with his verticality on passing, and then Ødegaard, who's just a majestic control merchant.
I will, but I just want to ask you about Ødegaard. How do you think he played yesterday?
I thought he did all right. Lots of people saying he wasn't very good, but I actually thought he was all right.
So do I. Alan Algar tweeted me last night. I couldn't believe. I don't think he had a bad game. I don't think anyone had a bad game. But I think it's a little bit unfair on George.
David Raya didn't have the best of moments. But anyway.
Oh, he had a brilliant game apart from one. I think it's a little bit unfair on Jorginho. I think we have sort of done brilliant without Partey. I love Jorginho. Partey can never stay fit long enough, to be honest, to build that momentum where Jorginho stepped in and really thought it was, he gave us his all. I can't criticise that. I don't know about Partey. It's weird because I do feel, and I agree with what Paul Merson said, he just takes that extra one touch and puts us in danger. And that's my fear. But his passing is just incredible on that. I thought Ødegaard was good. Listen, we're lucky. And this is something I said on the radio. We don't have, touch wood, any injuries that are major. Forget Timber. We played the whole season without him. But they're all there, and the plethora of choices we have is fantastic for Arteta. We have 3 games left, and I want to just touch on the 9 minutes, and then you can go on to the questions or whatever. But those 9 minutes were the worst 9 minutes of my footballing life. I actually had to do deep breathing exercises because it's so hard to cope, because not only the league would have been over, Tottenham would have stopped us. That's just even worse. That adds on to it. Saka scores. I think it's a different result at 4. They're not coming back from 4. But when Arsenal fans like your mate from the other pod, I can't remember his name, sorry, Johnny, saying, no, we're not going to come back from 3 down. He hasn't watched Arsenal enough. Forget anything. If you go back to Newcastle away when we were 4-0 up, I know it's many years ago, but this happens to Arsenal. That wouldn't have happened to City. City probably would have won that 4-5-1. It just is an Arsenal thing that we do. It was horrific, awful. And then when the final whistle finally went, you sort of just go, Jesus Christ. And then you go, right, come on, Nottingham Forest. You can't enjoy, like when we beat Chelsea, we haven't podcasted since before Chelsea. That was such an incredible match. But people were saying that won't count if we don't beat Spurs. It's become to the point you're not enjoying it anymore. You just got to get through it. You just got to get those points, get the job done. It's not about watching beautiful football. It don't matter if we score 6 goals now. It just doesn't matter. As a goal difference is great. We just 1-0 every game I'll take. And we need to take this to the end of the season. That last game at home against Everton, we just got to pray West Ham do something. That's all I'm going to say.
We have a goal difference, James, of plus 56, and Man City have plus 48. So that is an 8-goal swing, which you'd hope should be enough to mean that if it ends up coming down to goal difference, we should be falling on the right side of it. I do want to get your thoughts on Partey, Rice and Ødegaard. And as I said, just as I was asking Amanda, do you have feelings of, what could have been? Or are you similar to Amanda, that you're just not quite sure on Partey and his holding on to the ball too long, things like that? What's your kind of general view as to that midfield, how it lines up, and what we could have seen this season if the Ghanaian would have been fit?
I think we'd have seen it a hell of a lot more, because if you go right back to the Community Shield, what was the midfield three we started with? Partey, Rice, Ødegaard. And who started up top that day? Kai Havertz. So maybe we're just now seeing what Arteta wanted to do way earlier on in the season, but he's had to adapt because we've lost Thomas Partey. And, we've seen Havertz kind of drift into the team in this 8 role, bide his time, finally get his role at number 9. And we've just been a little bit unsure of what our best midfield is. I think for a long part of this season, we didn't really know who was the left 8. Was it Emile Smith-Rowe? Was it Fabio Vieira? Was it Kai Havertz? And I think now we've finally worked out that it is Declan Rice. And where we should be investing in the summer is a long-term number 6 to be that kind of destroyer with the passing ability, just to allow Declan Rice to be an out-and-out number 8, which is where I personally think he plays his best football. But it's also lovely for us that he's world-class in the number 6 position as well. So that's a really nice problem to have. And I've not really thought too much about what could have been, because I think we got through those earlier stages in the season where we weren't playing so well. We got results even though we weren't playing great football. So I'm not really looking back at them with too much disappointment. But I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Jorginho, like Amanda says, because I've not really thought too much about Thomas Partey because of how good Jorginho has been since the turn of the year. I mean, I was honestly saying Jorginho, Rice, Ødegaard is one of the best midfields in Europe, because at the time when we were putting teams to the swords and, scoring goals for fun and not conceding any, Jorginho was at the heart of that. He was so good for us. But yeah, I mean, it's great to have Partey back, but I don't think in the games where we've dropped points, Fulham away, West Ham at home, would he have been a difference maker? I'm not too sure. So I don't look at his situation and think, God, if we'd have had him, we'd have so many more points. I think that where we've dropped points is down to Arsenal as a whole, not down to one individual player. But it's great to have him back, and I hope that he can play, 90 minutes in all these next 3 games.
I agree.
Yeah,
fully.
And speaking of those 3 games, Amanda, we have Bournemouth at home next Saturday, the weekend after we play Man United, and then the weekend after we play Everton. So we have 1 week practically in between each of these games. I'm sure someone's probably said it in the chat, so apologies if I'm repeating, but do you think we win all of those games?
Yeah.
I'm starting to think we might do as well. Do you think that'll be enough?
No.
James?
Sorry.
No, definitely not. Sorry.
I can't, it's so heartbreaking. Every time I turn on a City game, I get this feeling like, come on, they're going to drop a point, 2 points. They're going to get a draw. And you just go like that.
It felt like yesterday had to be the day. If you look at how
Forest had so
played,
many chances.
that had to be the day where they were going to drop points. I mean, Forest outperformed them on expected goals. They were so much better than them in periods of that game. The amount of chances they had, they were just a couple of yards out from goal. I mean, if they were ever going to drop points, you can't help but feel it has to be that game. I mean, who have they got next? Wolves at home. They're going to win that.
Wolves at home. Then they play Fulham away. Then they play Spurs away in the midweek, and then the final game of the
Pathetic,
season is West
Spurs.
Ham. So I think
To
they're going to
be-
beat Wolves and Fulham, and then we're going to end up finding ourselves, unfortunately and horribly, rooting
Well,
for
I
Tottenham.
think Fulham could be
in that
a
midweek.
tougher game for them than people are making out. I mean, at home they tend to. I know you're shaking your head, Amanda. I'm being quietly optimistic here, but I think they will beat Fulham. But if there is a tricky game, 12:30 kickoff, that could have the hallmarks of a slight banana skin. But as much, Spurs is obviously the one that sticks out there like a sore thumb. But if we're in with a chance of winning the league and Spurs know that if they beat City, that we could go on to win it, I mean, surely a professional team isn't going to roll over with that happening. But you wouldn't be surprised if Spurs put out the reserves, would you?
Look, they're not good enough to play City and win. Forget the fact they'll roll
City
over.
have never. When did City last win at Spurs?
Yeah, okay. This year I
This
don't
is
rate
crunch
the
time
Spurs
now,
team.
And I
And
also think. Go on, Amanda.
Sorry, I'm just going to say as well that if you were a Spurs fan, and I totally get this, you would want your team to lose. However, if they've got to get fourth and they've got to beat City, then what two minds are you in? You want to be in Champions League, or do you want to be in the Europa League or Champions League and watch us win the league? It's very tough, and I get that. I do understand. I wouldn't criticise Spurs fans because, to be honest, I'd be sitting there doing exactly the same thing. I wouldn't want my team to win, but then I'd be torn because I'd want to be in the Champions League. It's not down to the fans anyway. It's down to the players. They're not good enough to beat City. I think with you, James, I get the Fulham. If it's going to be anywhere, it could be Fulham. I think they'll beat Wolves 5-0.
Yeah.
But I think we'll win all our games. I'm sorry, I do. Listen, football is a funny old game. We're going to be in a position that the three of us will be at the Emirates against Everton. One eye on that game, all the time on our phone looking at the results or having earpieces in for radios. It is going to be the most unpleasant afternoon.
Hang on. Let's not get ahead of us as we've got to win these next two
Yeah.
first.
I think we will. I think we will win, and I think that we will go to United this year. If we're all fit, I think we'll go to United this year. I'm not going to mention it, Phil Macker, because it's not the same as 1989. That was in our hands. This is not at the moment in our hands. If it comes to Fulham dropping points, I have no idea what the Emirates is going to be like on the last game of the season. All I'm going to say is now, hide your phones because everyone is going to want to try and get in somehow to that stadium against Everton. Everton will be on the beach because they'll be safe from relegation. They've got no bones with us. I've got loads of Evertonian mates that want us to win it anyway. I do believe that we'll win it. I do believe it's coming to the last game, and I'll take that now.
Can you not see it being one of those games though? Let's say we go into that final game against Everton, and if we win it, let's say City drop points theoretically against Fulham or Wolves or whoever, and it swings back in our favour, and we've got to win that game against Everton, and we win the league. Everyone goes in there knowing that. Wouldn't it be so Arsenal to go a goal down?
Yeah, it would be, but I think we'll win it. I think we'll win the league if they drop points. But I said this morning, they asked me this morning, and I said, we will win our next 3 games. I'm absolutely convinced. And they said, and do you think City will drop points? And I went, no. I said, so we are where we are. And I will look back to Villa, but I will also look back to Fulham and West Ham just before New Year, because that was heartbreaking. We had like 400 chances. But we have done magnificent. We have progressed fantastically. Our trajectory is amazing. Upward trajectory is fantastic. But, we all know, remember when we played Everton, you need that Tony Adams, would you believe it moment again. But we will probably trounce Everton 5-0. But it doesn't matter if City are winning all their games.
Yep. We're going to do some questions in a second. Just as a reminder, this podcast is sponsored by Ruth Beck Art. You can find Ruth if you search on Etsy for Ruth Beck art, you can find a whole wealth of different pin badges, like transfers. She does like great artwork. She does like cards. You can get like different types of cards for different times of the year. So check out that. We're really, really grateful that Ruth is part of our podcast, our same old Arsenal family. Before we get onto the questions, I'm just going to say one thing. I think it's going to be done for Tottenham. I think it will be done before they play Man City, and they'll have nothing to play for, because they play Chelsea on Thursday and then they play Liverpool on Sunday, and they know they have to win all of those games, and I think they drop points in probably both of them, and by then they're just petering out the season. So that's my gut feel. But anyway,
Do you know what
is
would be
Chelsea
wonderful?
away for them? Sorry, Chris, is Chelsea away for them?
Yes, they got Chelsea
Can
away.
I just say something? Wouldn't it be amazing if they drop the points against Fulham and we win the league, and Tottenham lose to City and all their fans are like cheering? They're in the Europa League and we win the league. I mean, that would be very Arsenal. That would be very Spursy. However, I'm very proud of the boys. Completely wonderful season so far. And let's just hope. That's all we can do.
Right, let's get to the questions. Let's do 5 minutes on questions, Amanda, before we wrap up. What you got for us?
Got so many. God, let's start. Okay, Kate Johnston, thank you, and thanks to everyone. I can't get through all the questions, but thank you for all of them. Question: if we do finish second, how would you feel about the season? Personally, I think it's been amazing, but there will be some wanting change after another trophyless season.
Blimey.
We would be batshit mental to want change after the season that we have had. Paul Merson said something, I think, after the game. He said Arsenal are just unlucky that they're basically in a fight with Mike Tyson. It's like it's an era thing, or it might have been Gary Neville. One of them said, we're just unlucky. Like this Man City team, if they win the league, they've won 4 in a row. Like people are joking about the German league being a farmers league or the French league, but ultimately we're the league that has got the team that is just dominating it at the moment. Bayer Leverkusen have just beaten Munich to it. We have to do our bit, and for Granit Xhaka as well, we have to do our bit.
Anyone that wants Arteta out because we haven't won a trophy, I can't speak to. So, Cooks, what's your take on that?
Yeah, you're just mental, frankly, if you want him to go after the season we've had. I mean, we could end this season on 89 points. When did we last do that? I mean, you know, in any of Wenger's seasons, pretty much, that would have been more than enough to win the league. He's done something that Arsene Wenger couldn't do, win at Spurs back-to-back. We've had some fabulous moments this season, absolutely fabulous. And I think we are in such a good position to be one of the best teams in Europe next season. You know, I think we know where the obvious areas of improvement can be, but they are very few and far between. Whereas this time last year, I think we looked at the team, we were like, we can probably improve there, and there. Whereas now it's just like there and maybe there. And let's try and get some other players in to raise the level of the squad. But I think, we're in such a good place, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Nice. Another question?
Agree. Carl Stark, has Partey shown enough to make Arsenal consider offering a new contract? I'll go to you, Cooks.
No, not for me. I believe he's got 1 year left on his deal, and I think it's going to be a toss-up between him and Jorginho as to who stays. I don't know why I have a sneaky feeling it's Jorginho that's going to be off and Partey's the one that's going to stay. I'm not saying that's the right or the wrong thing to do, but if he could stay fit for all of next season or for the majority of it, that would be fantastic. That's an enormous if, though. Like, if an offer came in for him in the summer, I think Arsenal should definitely consider taking it. But if it was me, I would be looking to invest in a long-term number 6 and have Partey as the backup guy. That would be a nice situation to be in.
Chris, anything to add to that?
No, I think that's the key thing, is the injury stuff. If his availability was such that we knew that he'd play more, you'd say, you know, fine, let's see how long we can get. But he's not going to get any healthier in the coming years as his body starts to get even older. You know, he's 31 at the moment. So no, not for me. Thanks. Thank you very much for your service, but we need to move on.
Emerson, good evening, Emerson. I hope you had a nice birthday. Would you all give credit to the set piece coach on the first goal and Havertz goal? So yes or a no, Cooks?
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
We all agree. Thank you. Carl's got another question. Whose redemption arc is more surprising, Kai's or Xhaka's last season?
Oh, that's a really good one.
That's a brilliant
I think
question.
I think Kai actually, because for me, I just thought he was a shadow of a player earlier on. I didn't see him having these sort of performances. I just didn't think he had it in him. You know, from everything I'd seen from him at Chelsea, I would never, ever, ever in my wildest dreams would have seen Kai Havertz as the guy to go and dominate a North London derby. But here he is doing it. I think Xhaka always had it in him, but it just took a long time to figure out where his best position was at Arsenal. Just turned out that it was in left 8 in his final season.
Yep, I would just absolutely add that. I've always seen, even so we've been doing this pod for a while, even back when obviously Craig was running it and we were on this. I've always been a fan of Xhaka, and I've just felt that we've just not utilised him properly. Whereas Havertz, he wouldn't have been doing what he's doing now, even if we put him up front from the beginning of the season. I still don't think he would have been doing what he's doing now. His confidence has grown and grown and grown. His understanding of the team has as well.
I think Kai as well, definitely. Phil Macker, if we finish second, do we need to have an invincible seasons next season to win the title?
No, we just need to win more games.
I think that, and maybe this is tempting fate, I think Man City will be coming towards the end of a cycle, because you've got Kevin De Bruyne, who's now like 32 and he's picking up injuries. Like, Rodri is not going to go on forever. He's got this ridiculous record of like 70 matches that they've won in. He's not.
He's actually not. He's not as old as you think he is, Chris. I think he's only like in his. I think he's 27, something like that.
Really?
Rodri, yeah, he's 27. So there's a bit of a way to go for him, unfortunately.
But I don't think this whole figure can go on forever. He's 27 in June, 28 in June. So I don't think that can go on forever. Like, probabilities and all of balance of probabilities and all of that. I think we just need to have, if we had a similar season to this one, it wouldn't surprise me if next season it might be good enough. Maybe if the football authorities did their job and punished a team like after they've charged them 115 times, we might not have to. But that's another story for another day.
Right. Guna 73. Who stays for next season? Partey or Jorginho? Cooks?
I think we've done that, haven't we?
Yeah. If it was up to me, I would choose Jorginho, but I think it's going to be Partey.
So would I. Yeah. So would I.
Do you want to do one more?
Yeah. What are your thoughts? This is from Emerson again. What are your thoughts on Timber getting 70 minutes in the under-21 win against Liverpool yesterday? And I'll add to that. Do you think we'll see him this season?
Yeah,
Chris?
I think
maybe for a cameo for Everton. Maybe for a cameo for Everton, we might see him. But I think it just makes sense, right? Because he played 45 minutes last week for the under-21s, 70 minutes, so they're building him up. The next thing is obviously he might be on the bench, maybe at Bournemouth, and maybe he gets 5 minutes or something. But I don't think we'll be seeing him from the start, no.
No, we definitely aren't going to see him starting games between now and the end of the season. But it's great to have him back. And to be honest, I'm not really fussed about him being in the matchday squads in these next 3 games. I think for me, it's just about him getting back to fitness and then being available and ready to go for the start of next season. It'd be great to have him on the bench for Bournemouth. Is he going to come on? I doubt it. Is he going to come on against Manchester United? Well, if we're winning 4-0, potentially. But I think, like you say, Chris, it's much more likely that he gets 10, 15, 20 minutes at most against Everton on the final day.
I'm just going to do one little more, but I think we'll answer this at the end of the season. We'll do a big roundup at the end of the season, and we'll go through our predictions that I've got written down in my podcast book. We will go through that. But who is our player of the season? Who is it? Can you even choose, Cooks? Is there any chance you could choose?
Yep, and it's Martin Odegaard.
Okay. Chris?
Just out of the balance, I mean, I love Odegaard, and that would be my first that I'd be leaning towards. But just on the balance of being slightly different, Declan Rice absolutely changed our world defensively and as a team.
I think it's really hard because Odegaard would be my first. But Could Kai Havertz be in there? You know, could Rice,
Gabriel.
could Saka, Gabriel, Ben White? I think it's tough. I think we would have to do this. We'd have to go first, second, third, because I don't think anyone. I think it's hard. If I look, everyone, Ben White, underrated. We will do this in our last, our final roundup of the season. Hopefully, with a little trophy.
Yes, fingers crossed.
Come on,
Fingers
Fulham.
crossed.
Come on, Fulham.
Yeah,
I
we need
actually
something
want
to happen.
Tottenham to beat them. I want Tottenham to beat them. It just would be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Can't pick. So Barry said, sorry, he said, can't pick any one player. Everyone's just been amazing. Collective, we're just amazing. It's very true.
Yeah. I think that's probably it for today. Amanda, you're going to see us home. But thank you very much to everyone that's joined us in the chat and has posed your questions. We've had nearly 700 of you joining us today. So absolutely amazing. Having lots of people come to join our little community, talk to us about all things Arsenal, relive the joys of yesterday. We've had an absolutely great time. Amanda, take us home. But from me, thank you very much. And always Arsenal, lads and ladies.
I will, but I just want to give a quick shout out to my dad, the biggest gooner on the planet, who is 78 on Wednesday, and trust me, drives me mad through every Arsenal game with his WhatsApp messages. To be fair, he was only one of very few people that said we were going to win yesterday. So happy birthday, Dad. I love you lots. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be going to the Arsenal. So big happy birthday from everyone at the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Boys, do you want to say happy birthday?
Oh, sorry,
happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday. Sorry.
Just sitting there
I thought
going
you were
like
doing
that.
it for us as a collective.
Thank you to everyone in the chat room. As Chris said, we've gone over 700. We're now nearly 750 people. So a big shout out to everybody that's watching. Thank you so much. And for those on audio, please press review, wherever it is on Apple and Spotify. For everybody here, before you say goodbye to us, please press like, subscribe to our channel, and no doubt we will be back with either James will do a preview show. We will be doing post Bournemouth, probably Saturday or Sunday. But all we can hope for is, I think City play Everton tomorrow night. I think. Am I right or wrong? Or is it next week?
No,
I don't know when it is.
No, they're on the same sort of time frame as us, other than the last week of the season when they've got Tottenham. They've got in their last week, it's Fulham, Spurs, and Spurs in the midweek, and then West Ham. So we've got a couple of weeks where we're neck and neck in terms of we're playing, they're playing.
Right. Okay. So when do they play their game in hand? Is it the last week of the season?
Last week of the season. The last week of the season.
God. Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Please go and visit ruthbeckart.com or on her Etsy shop. She's got some fantastic stuff. Go and support her. We're very proud that she's associated with our podcast. Thanks, boys. Good night. We beat the Spurs. We beat the scum. 3-2. Come on. Let's have some fun. Remember, people, it's always Arsenal. Good night.